Hello and welcome into another edition of Chatterbox Bengals. I'm Reed Mouse coming to you after the Bengals lost, tell me if you heard this one before, lost a heartbreaker, a gut-wrencher against the Chicago Bears this time, a game in which they came back from down 14 in the final 2 minutes to get an onside kick and take the lead, and then eventually blew it. And in the post-game of that show, and really for the past week, I've been saying that after the way the Bengals had played yesterday, and really the way that they've played for the last 7 weeks, they've been embarrassed for 7 weeks. Embarrassed. I am pretty lenient on performances more often than not, but when you are embarrassed, as they've been 6 of the last 7 weeks, I straight up called. I said, it's time. It's the end of the Zac Taylor era. It needs to be the end of the Zac Taylor era because I just don't see a path forward in which we turn this thing around in years to come. We've given him years since the Super Bowl and years to replenish this defense, and it's not been good. But he had his press conference today, and I wanted to react to some of those clips. So the first one here comes from the press conference today.
Zach, a lot of people wonder why losing 5 of 6, the way the last 2 games have ended, why don't you make changes? Is the status quo acceptable? People wonder on the outside, why do you feel that you do have the solutions in the building, not make any change? Why is that?
Because I've been through this situation before. We've been through this situation many years and come out the other side playing for championships, winning divisions by sticking with what we believe in and not doing what everybody wants you to do by sticking with it. I'm thankful that in 2020 they didn't kick me out of here, so we were able to go to the Super Bowl the next year. And so, again, I believe in the people that we've hired. I sit in there, I watch these guys coach. I know what they're made of. I know where we can continue to grow. And so when you believe in people, you don't just make a gut reaction from what people want to see that aren't necessarily a part of it. I understand the frustration. I get it. I'd be frustrated too if I was outside the building. We're going to get it fixed. We're going to continue to work it. I trust every coach we got in this building to get it done, or else they wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have hired them in the first place. And so, again, I got firm belief that we can get this done, and we can do with the players we have and find a way to get some wins. And, again, there's some things we got to clean up. We got to do better. There's a coaching side of that too, where we got to find ways to push the right buttons for these guys to get them exactly to do it how we want to do it. But I trust that we can get that done.
All right, so a few things. I have a few points, and there's a very particular reason why I took this minute and 25-second clip to talk about first. The first thing that he says, he is allowed to have those opinions. He's allowed to say, I have been doubted as a head coach before. We did. The first 2 years were not pretty. 2019, 2020 were as ugly as it gets and as ugly as it's been in this city. But we hung through Zac Taylor despite those years. The first year in which was so bad that led to the first overall pick, which then led to Joe Burrow. He gets injured, and those 2 years were terrible. And then you get to 2021 and 2022 when the Bengals make the Super Bowl and the Bengals make the AFC Championship game. I've defended Zac Taylor as long as Chatterbox Sports has been providing content. And the reason that I have always defended Zac Taylor is a couple points. One, it's pretty clear that if you say the right things in the press conference, then you oftentimes can resonate with people and therefore can resonate with players. And he does that. He frequently is saying the right things. It seems a very authentic belief system into his own team, into his coaching staff, into his players, all those things. And you do get credit for those things. They were a long time ago. And in football terms, NFL terms, those were eons ago. I mean, full 4 years ago. I mean, we're dating back to Trevor Lawrence's rookie season, where we are looking so long ago, back when the Super Bowl was. But you do get credit because, as I've said multiple times, before Zac Taylor took over as the head coach here in Cincinnati, the Bengals franchise had 5 playoff wins. In 2021 and 2022, Zac Taylor had 5 playoff wins. He doubled the franchise's total. So you do get credit for this. But this isn't the same scenario as 2019, 2020. You don't get multiple times up the hill. They've hired you, Zac, because they believed in what you were doing, what you can bring to a team. Your offensive outlook, your offensive prowess is what you were seemingly hired for. And this came right after the wave of hiring guys like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. That were these young, hotshot offensive minds, and that's who we took. We took a young offensive mind that had spent some time with Sean McVay. And the reason you didn't get fired in 2021 is because we hadn't seen the image yet, right? That first year, you're walking at the end of the Andy Dalton era. It was really bad. You get the first overall pick with Joe Burrow. He shows promise from the jump, and then he gets hurt. And then things shot out of a cannon in 2021 and 2022. The problem is we haven't seen you replenish to this team. We haven't seen those things now for 2.5 seasons. That makes us believe in you that when things continue to go downhill, right? When things are trending downwards, and they have been for 3 years, it's hard to see how they can get better. And it's not like we've plateaued. We have nosedived here in Cincinnati. And another thing about that clip that just kind of drove me nuts, and like I said, you get credit for those. You do. And it was a long time ago. And you fans don't want to hear me say that. But it was a long time ago. And a reminder, I want Zac Taylor, I hope he's fired by the time I upload this video. Clearly it's not going to happen. But you do get credit for that, even though it was a long time ago. The part that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and this is so small, but it did rub me the wrong way, was when he makes that point is, I'm glad they didn't get rid of me in 2020, so we can go out in 2021 and make the Super Bowl. He made a little, snide, that was the exact way she went. Like saying, you guys know I went to the Super Bowl, right? And it's like, okay, I'm giving you credit, but you don't get to be for lack of a better word, you don't get to be a little D word about it. You don't get to do that. We're not doing that. All right, let's look at another clip here.
To maintain your culture, not let this become an offense-defense thing. Chase Brown unloaded some frustration yesterday publicly. Do you want players to have the freedom to vent, or do you have to talk to them?
Not if you're not doing everything you can on your own, and I've pointed that out with Chase. There was 2 big plays that we could have done better that would have led to points. And so I think I liked Jamar a little bit better. I can tell Jamar's frustrated, but he didn't want guys coming at him if he's had a poor performance or something that he was disappointed in. So I trust that that's a one-time thing, and we'll learn from that. That's not how we want to react. And one of our best players, one of our highest character players, I think in a moment of frustration said that, and I don't expect that to happen again.
Chase, you mentioned yesterday, Zac.
All right, so obviously he's talking about the comments of Chase Brown in the locker room, very clearly frustrated. And this is where, once again, through all Zac's faults, he's really good at a press conference. And that's the right thing he said. And that's more than fair. His point is that it feels a little hypocritical for Chase Brown to make those comments in the locker room based off of the day that Chase Brown had. And he had some nice plays, but he also had the one I'm thinking of is in the first half, he just drops that ball where he gets an easy pass from Joe Flacco on the run that would have led to a first down. And, of course, the Bengals had to settle for a field goal on that drive. And the way that the Bengals offense was working, that probably would have led to 6. It could change the complexion of the game. And that's fair. No one wants to hear complaints from a guy who didn't hold up his end of the bargain. That's a general rule of life. That if you're in any team organization or anything like that, and you're not holding up your end of the bargain, you better not make a comment about someone else on the team. And that's what Zac's saying. And that is fair. And that's what he said. He's like, Jamar Chase played a great game. He has the right, because of the way he played today, to say things about others. Hey, you need to step up. You need to. But I think we know, and this is where, once again, Zac is so good at a podium at times, is that he says the right things at the end and saying he's a high-caliber player. Me and him have talked and all those things. It's just just at that moment, we didn't care for what he said. And I think that's a fair criticism from Zac to say Chase Brown didn't hold up his end of the bargain. He doesn't get to make those comments about other players on the team. Let's look at another clip.
Are you that Trey Hendrickson's on the roster after the deadline?
Yeah, I think we can win with the players that we have. And so just continue to work forward with all of them.
Is there any new information?
How hopeful are you that
So point blank, Zac Taylor was asked about Trey Hendrickson's likelihood that he is going to be on the roster tomorrow or after the trade deadline going forward. And Zac holds the belief that this team can win with the players they have, which I'm not seeing it. You're not seeing it. None of us are seeing it, which is why we all hey, let's get it 3-6 without Joe Burrow in the toughest stretch of the season coming up, a stretch where you're playing the Steelers, the Ravens twice, the Bills, and the Patriots. 5 games where you are going to be massive underdogs in every single one of them. And only, I believe, 2 are at home. So that's why fans are like, hey, maybe we should get rid of Trey Hendricks because he's not going to be here next year, so let's get something for him in the moment. I respect Zac for saying, hey, I want him, we can win with the players we have. But at some point, you've got to read the room and go, hey, this team isn't it. This team isn't it. But to Zac's, I don't know if credit, defense, he's fighting for his job. And if they continue to lose, he's going to lose his job. So if I was Zac, I'd want Trey Hendrickson on the team too. If I was a Cincinnati Bengals fan, which I am, I'd want Trey Hendrickson off the team because the better course forward is to lose as many games as possible and have as many draft picks and get a new mind in here and get a new director of player personnel and get a new head coach that has a defensive mind on him and see if we can straighten this ship out. But he's fighting for his job. So
It was a high level. So there's plenty of times where it's 10 guys doing exactly what we need them to do, and one guy getting outside of his lane and giving up a big run or a big rush. And so, again, it's just we got a mixture of some veteran guys. We got a mixture of a lot of young guys in there, and they're green together, and we got to get that experience ramped up very quickly. I trust that we can do it. We're going to continue to work to do it and find a way to get some stops.
you lost 2 weeks?
I think we just have to be great tacklers and just –
the thing that's so funny about this clip is he said, I think we just have to be great tacklers and just execute our fundamentals at a high level. It's like, yeah, dude. Duh. And when you're on offense, we gotta move the ball forward and get in the end. Yeah, that's the point of the game. Outscore your opponent. Keep your opponent out of the end zone, off the scoreboard, and score more points than them. Yeah, you got to tackle. You got to execute. But I'll ask this question. When you're not doing the fundamentals, what makes you think that you can compete at a high level? Zac's an offensive mind. So if in the off chance that Zac Taylor comes across this video, let me ask you this. If you have a quarterback that can't check it down into the flats or can't hit a slant route, what makes you think that he's going to be able to execute tight windows or being able to win in a 2-minute drill? So when our head coach is saying, oh, we just got to tackle and execute the fundamentals, it's like, yeah, duh. And you're not doing that. What makes me think that you can do any of these things well? They lead the league in missed tackles. Of course the answer is to tackle better. It's not happening. These players are young. And it's unfortunate that so few of them have gotten experience and we're playing so many rookies. But point blank, they're not good either. Like, there's not a whole lot of promise. There's not flashes of, oh, yeah, this Barrett Carter looks like a great player. Oh, yeah, this Shamar Stewart looks like a great player. Shamar Stewart's getting bullied. Myles Murphy's getting bullied. Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight are the lowest-rated PFF linebackers in the league. We have some veterans in our secondary, and that's the only saving grace of the defense at this point. And it's not good either. Outside of Juan Drago Turner II. Just need to tackle and execute fundamentals. Miss me on that. And we've got one more.
Make any step changes on the defensive side of the ball?
No, I believe in these guys, absolutely. And so we'll continue to work through it and find solutions.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on what you're seeing behind the scenes from a week-to-week basis from Al that gives you that
Yeah,
much
working like
confidence?
crazy. He's a great football coach. He's doing everything he can to uncover every single stone to make us play better. I mean, we're all sick for the way that these games have gone, him probably as much as anybody else on this planet. And so I trust in him, trust in his staff, that we're going to keep working and get all these guys on the same page, executing at a high level, and be a good defense going forward.
Just to follow up on that, can you clarify you don't plan to make any?
And this is what's so frustrating. Truly, this is what's so frustrating is that this team clearly needs major changes in the organization. And it starts with Zac. And like I said, he's not going to say anything disparaging because he's fighting for his job. But this team between Al Golden, Duke Tobin, and Zac Taylor, when a team as embarrassing as they've been 6 of the last 7 weeks, you don't get to keep your job. You don't get to. If any one of us that are in high decision-making jobs or high impact where people below in an entire city's economy, you ever think about how much money this city relies on the Cincinnati Bengals being good? From companies like Chatterbox Sports rely on the Bengals being good for clicks and content purposes. The local bars to local merchandising companies, all the above. They rely on the Cincinnati Bengals being good. So when they're not, and when they are getting embarrassed week in and week out, there's so much money being lost that you don't get to keep your job anymore. I'm sorry to say it, you just don't. Zac Taylor, I mean, he's pretty clearly, I've met him once. He's pretty clearly a phenomenal person. Everyone that spends significant time around Zac Taylor acknowledges this. And Zac Taylor, you have been the head coach during the most happiest moments I've been as a Bengals fan. I've been a fan since 2001. You have been the head coach during the most happy moments of my fandom. But it's done. It's done, brother. It's all cooked. And they might not get rid of you, but I can't defend you any longer. Your offense is takes about a month, but it's as good as it gets in the league. But you also got to oversee the rest of this team and the drafting, the defense over the past few years, and what seems to be discord in the locker room continuing forward. You just don't get to continue with your job. At least that's what a serious franchise would do. Chatterbox Bengals, thank you so much for joining in. My name is Reed Mouse. We'll see you around next time.